Hi, thank you for stopping by on my YouTube channel. Today I will be giving 4 tips, or more like 4 things I wish I knew before becoming a teacher. I hope that this video will be insightful to anyone who wishes to pursue a career in education. I will say that I think that if you have studied to become a teacher, you might be aware of these things. This is more for a person that has not studied in the domain yet and who's thinking about becoming a teacher. If you are interested in more of these topics or more of these videos, you can stick by and I will be making more of them. So the first thing that I wish I knew because before becoming a teacher is that it will take a lot of overtime, unpaid overtime. So in my case, I do between 10 hours and 18 hours of overtime because I'm a new teacher. This is my first full year teaching in a subject that I did not particularly study in. So it's a lot more difficult for me. It takes a lot of planning, a lot of grading because I want to make sure that my lectures are really good and I don't seem lost in front of the students. I will also add that I have not studied teaching yet. I will start next year, so that's also to be taken in consideration. Perhaps a person that has studied teaching and has studied teaching the what they are teaching will have less overtime to do. But to be completely honest, from speaking to other teachers who are experienced teachers and new teachers as well, it seems to be a common thing where you do a lot of overtime. So I think a lot of people are already aware of this, but I don't think that we are. Was not aware of the amount of overtime that it would take. So as I've said, it takes me around 10 to 18 hours of overtime. When I started in September, September through December, I was doing 18 hours of overtime a week. And then now that I've kind of gotten the rhythm of it, I do around 10 hours of overtime. So by overtime, I mean I work, I normally work, my hours of work are 8:30 to 3:05. And I come to work around 6:45, 7-ish. I know it's really intense. I'm just a morning person. And because I do so much overtime and I can't even keep up with the overtime that I do, I end up finishing whatever was not done the day before the morning of the day. So that's why I come so early to school. So let's say 7-ish. By 7-ish, I'm at school and my laptop is open and I'm ready to work. So that's already an hour and a half before class even starts. And then after school, I used to do 2 more hours. So I would stay until like 5:30. Yeah, I would stay until 5:30, sometimes even 6, but let's just do 5:30. So it that already is an hour, an hour and a half plus 2 hours and a half. Four, that's 5 hours. So I think I didn't even calculate it right. So I would do that all week. So it would be 5 times 5, that's 25. And then on Sundays, I would work some more because I want to prepare my next week. I want to grade the exams. I want to review the materials that I have. So that's an extra. I would say on Sundays I work uh, like 8:30 to maybe 3:30, but let's just say 7 hours just to round it up. So 25 plus 7, that's 32 hours. But I will round it up to 10 to 25 hours of overwork that is not paid and that is not recognized. Um, and so if you want to see what my weekends look like, how I work on Sundays, I have a vlog on that, so you can check that out. So the second thing that I knew before becoming a teacher is that teaching actually involves a lot of admin work. So my background is that I used to be a public servant, which means that I used to work for the government of Canada. And while working there, I would have a little bit of admin work. And by admin, I mean anything that is very like typing on your computer, sending emails, following up with people. You get what I mean. And I didn't think that teaching would revolve around that. I didn't think that there would be a lot of that in teaching, but I've come to realize that it's actually a lot of that, and it takes a certain amount of hours of your week if you compile it all together, all the admin work. So, what type of admin work do I have to do in a week? I have to send a lot of emails, sending emails to parents to follow up on their children if their children has a detention because they keep coming late to my class, if their student needs to stop coming late to my class even though they don't have a detention, letting them know if their child was behaving in an inappropriate way in class, or if there was a conflict that happened that I'm aware of, and I need to let them know if their children needs to come to lunchtime to finish their exam. So all of that communication that I need to provide to the parents just to let them know about how their child is doing in school, that takes a considerable amount. And I think one time in one weekend, because I do a lot of my emails on the weekend for the week ahead, if I have to let the parents know that their kid has to come to a specific day to redo something, I sent emails to about 37 parents. So yeah, there's a lot of emails being sent to the parents. There's a lot of emails being sent to my boss, my mentor, my boss being the principal. She will The principal will often send us emails talking about a specific student or a specific activity that's happening in school. Just that whole correspondence between myself and my principal, as well as my colleagues, just news about things that are happening in the school, teachers contacting me to ask me things about my class or about the students that we share. So there's a lot of communication happening, and every Monday morning or every morning when I arrive at work, like I said, at 7 a.m., the first thing that I do is that I open my laptop and I read all of the emails and I answer all of the emails before even thinking about teaching. That's the first thing that I do. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of paperwork. And I'm not just talking about exams, just the process of printing the exams, dealing with a photocopier, the printer when it's broken, and then the amount of paper that you have to be careful, how many papers you can print in a year, always making sure that you are able to print before you give out the exams, because a lot of teachers are trying to print at the same time, um, papers to sign off, papers to send at home to the parents to let them know, report cards, filling out the report cards. So a lot of papers and data being entered into systems. What else did I have? Yeah, so reports, so back and forth on that. So I knew that teaching would take me a lot of extra time, a lot of extra work, but I did not think of all of the admin that also goes into teaching, and that is something that I wish I knew. Does it bother me? No, it does not bother me, but it's just so many things that you need to remember. Sometimes I literally think to myself, I would need three brains to remember the amount of things that I have to do, because it's easy for me to remember that the planning that I have to plan. It's easy for me to remember that I have to grade, but to remember that I need to send this student's parents an email and this student's parents an email. I have 180 students and I have to remember the 13 ones that need to talk to their parents. I have to remember the 13 one that are coming at lunch to redo their exam, and then I have to tell their parents that they're coming, and then I have to remember who has a detention. It's like so many things to remember, and I don't have enough space in my one brain to remember all of the things that I have to do that are outside of just teaching and grading and prepping. So that's another thing that I wish I knew before becoming a teacher. So the third thing that I wish I knew before becoming a teacher, I think that this is pretty known, but I will repeat it so that everyone is aware. You are not paid a lot. And obviously, this depends on the country that you teach. It depends on the state that you teach. It depends on the province that you teach. But in my case, this is not the case for all of Canada, but I feel like it's a pretty common thing where we're not recognized for all of the work that we do, and we are not being paid for all of the work that we do. Just like I've mentioned, right now it's more than teaching, and I will mention afterwards as well everything that comes with teaching as well. And we're not paid enough, and we don't have enough time in a week for all that we do. So, you know, where I am at, the entry level um, salary for a teacher is in the 50Ks. So right now I make in the lower 50Ks. And I don't, with the inflation and the economy and on which we live in 2025, I don't make enough to have my own apartment. I make about $1,200 per 2 weeks, and I know that it's more than certain jobs. It's not enough for this economy, and I could make the same salary working customer service, So it's very pitiful. It's very sad, and that could be one of the reasons why someone decides to not be a teacher, just because it's not enough. It's an insult. You do all of this work and then you're paid a very low salary, and it takes you, in my case, it would take me 16 years to reach the top of the scale, and then the top of the scale right now it's about 100K, which is, it's fine. I can't wait to get to the top of the scale, but I know that in other jobs, it's way more than that, and they do way less. So that's kind of the part that is very sad. Would I leave my job because of it? No, because I know that teaching is my calling. I know that teaching is what I love to do. And so, that's just what kind of sucks. It's easy for me because I don't have kids. I'm living with my big sister for the moment. So I survive. I can't complain. I know that other people have it worse. But I feel bad. I would feel bad for a person that has kids and maybe doesn't have a partner or someone helping them, and then they make the amount of money that I make. I would find it hard to survive in that case. So that's just another thing to take account of. And maybe that would help you decide where you want to be a teacher and where you want to get your diploma in order for you to teach where you want to teach. So I know that the province where I teach, it's pretty low compared to the province next to us. They start in the 60Ks, so it's already better. And I could choose to pursue a degree in teaching in that province, and then I would know that I would get a better entry salary at least. So that's another thing, definitely to take into account. Also, I wanted to add that if you're someone that is very, I don't want to say ambitious, because to be a teacher some kind of ambition. It takes a lot of motivation. But if you want professional development, if you want in your life to go up, to try different things, well, I feel like this might, how can I say this? You can become a principal. That's always an option. You can, depending on your degree, you might be able to teach in college, and if you get your doctorate, you could teach in university. But I hope you get you get what I mean. Think about what you want, because this might not be the type of career where you necessarily have a lot of career development if you stay within teaching, and then you teach high school, and that's what you do. Then you might do your whole 30 years teaching in high school, which is fine. Some people love that. I would be fine with that, and I don't necessarily intend to change careers. But if you like having career development, you like having um, options, then that's something that you might want to think of. Okay, so the last thing that I wish I knew before becoming a teacher is that you are not just a teacher. And you might have heard people say this, but it's very, very, very important to be aware of this before becoming a teacher, before pursuing a career in teaching. Um, so, what I mean by you're not just a teacher, first of all, I feel like at times we are teachers of life. So you don't just teach within your domain. I'm not just an English teacher, you know? Sometimes I have to talk about life. Sometimes I need to teach my students lessons on life. And so if you think that you're just gonna come and teach math and that'll be it, that might happen. But I feel like there are instances where you will be asked to be the grown up, to be the moral authority, and you'd have to kind of step out of just teaching math and teach life lessons. Tell your students what is right, what is wrong. Um, so that's one of the things that you need to keep in mind, which is not a bad thing at all. Um, None of these things that I'm saying can necessarily have to be bad. You can find pleasure in them. I do all of these things right now. I do overtime. I intend to just teach high school of my all of my life. I'm paid in the 50Ks, but I don't have a problem with it because I love what I do. So don't take everything I'm saying necessarily negatively. But yeah, you will be asked to be more than just a teacher, and more than just a teacher of whatever you teach. The other thing is that within that same line of thought of stepping out of just teaching, um, sometimes you might be in situations where your students tell you things that might affect you. They might tell you things about their lives, things happening at home, things happening with their friends, and that might affect you. And so it's human relationships. You deal with human beings, you deal with younger people, and they have a lot to learn, and they're going through things, and they look up to you. So you sometimes you just have to put on that coat and just be that person for them if you want to. You don't have to. You can refer them to a therapist or a social worker if you want. But that's definitely something to keep in mind, because it will happen to you that a student might come up to you and tell you something, and you might just be completely traumatized by what you heard, or you might be heartbroken, or you might be happy. Maybe they'll tell you something and you'll be like, oh, that makes my day. um so yeah, let me see what else I had. So they might look up to you, they might also look down on you, and that might affect you because you came here to teach them something, and then sometimes they might talk to you like they have something to teach you, and that can be very hurtful, that can be hard to deal with, especially if it's a student that will be in your class the whole year. um so yeah, that's another element that I wish I knew. You're not just a teacher. You have to put in different codes and be different things to them. But in the end, I think that in education, what I love so much about it is obviously the students. Personally, I'm there for the kids and I love being there for them. And I wouldn't want it any other way. And I think that there's a lot of love in general. You might have a rough year, but I believe that often, in my opinion, at the end of the year, it's like, oh, it's all love. It's all love. Like it's not that deep. Sometimes it is that deep. Sometimes some teachers have to deal with very awful cases of students, but there's a lot of love, and I think that the kids, they have a lot of love in their heart. They have a lot of space in their heart, and their teacher is just one of those people that they also have in their heart, and they also love, in a way. And I love that. I love my students, and I love doing what I do, and I hope that this video was insightful. I hope that you learned a couple of things that you might have not known. I hope that it doesn't deter you from wanting to be a teacher if that's what you want to do, and you're able to become a teacher. It's all about circumstances. We all live different lives. But yeah, thank you for listening to my video, and I hope you stick around for more of these videos.